everyone, my name is Kristen Baird. I'm the violin teaching artist with the Florida Orchestra. In this video today, we're going to learn how to play an E major 1-octave scale and arpeggio starting with the first finger on the D string. Like the other videos, there's also a handout you can download and it will follow along with what we're doing so you can have everything written out in front of you. Our objectives today, I can play a 1-octave E major scale and arpeggio starting on the first finger of the D string. I can play D sharp and G sharp in tune using a high third finger, so we'll be talking about high threes. I can identify a half step and a whole step in the E major scale, and I can sing an E major scale using the musical alphabet and the E major key signature. All right, let's get started. Okay, because we're playing an E major scale today, of course we'll be using an E drone, and like the other videos, I'll be putting on a metronome at 60 beats per minute. Our pro tip for today, check that you're not squeezing too hard by tapping your left thumb 3 times. What in the world does that mean? All right, so if I turn around on the camera, before we start, I want you to tap your thumb 1, 2, 3. And the reason is a lot of times I think thumbs like to be squeezed. I think a lot of us don't realize how hard we're squeezing the instrument, and it can cause pain in your left hand and tension. So we're gonna make sure that we're nice and loose in our left hand by tapping our thumb 3 times. All right, let's get started and let's play our 1-octave E major scale and arpeggio. 1, 2, ready, go. So you may have noticed that, of course, some of the notes have hearts underneath of them, and those are our TLC notes for today. And in this scale, it's usually G sharp and D sharp that need a little extra tender love and care, and that's because those are high threes. We write a reminder in the music with an arrow up and the number 3. Now, high threes are when your third and fourth finger are right next to each other. And we call it a high 3 because the closer your finger is to your nose, the higher the pitch is. So if this is regular 3, we're going to be moving our finger towards our nose, and that's gonna bring the pitch up. All right, so let me come up to the camera and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's go note by note. Here's our first note, E, F sharp, G sharp. Here's our first high 3, A, B, C sharp, our other high 3, D sharp, and E. So if I go back over to the D string and I play the first 4 notes, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, if you notice my 3 and my 4 are right next to each other and they're nice and snug. All right, so this would be G natural, but if you're playing like G major or something, here's your G natural, same note. But because we're playing E major, we need a G sharp, which puts my finger up here. And so let me show you what this all sounds like. This is what we want. Here's G sharp. Now if you play G natural, this is what this sounds like. But we're not playing G natural, we're playing G sharp. Now if I put my finger right in the middle, this is what that sounds like. Woo! Makes you shiver. Because that note is not a note. If you put your finger right in the middle between 3 and 4, I call it a flarp. That note doesn't exist until you get into very modern music. But so this is G natural, and this is what we want. Okay. Now we're going to talk about what is a half step and a whole step. And it's very simple. all of our scales are made up of either half steps or whole steps. A half step is when our fingers are right next to each other. So every time you hear me say those fingers are snug next to each other, that's going to be a half step. Now, if there's 2 half steps equal a whole step. Simple as that. That's all there is to it. Let me show you in the hand frame we're talking about for E major. Here's E, F sharp. That's a whole step. Then a whole step to G sharp. Here's F sharp, G sharp. There's a whole step. Now here's a half step. All right, this is a half step. So we have whole step, half step. And then if I keep going, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E, we have a whole step, half step. And that's all that is. I just wanted to make sure that you guys have heard that terminology before. And if you haven't, you'll probably start hearing me talk more with that terminology. So, and with that in mind, we are going to play our E major scale and arpeggio again. And also with our pro tip in mind, to make sure that we tap, before you start, tap your thumb. 1, 2, 3. Make sure he's nice and relaxed. All right, let's play our scale. 1, 2, ready, go. Before we build our E major scale, let's go over our key signature to see what accidentals, sharps or flats, or maybe none, need to be added to our note name. So if you check out the key signature right here, circled in purple, there are 4 sharps, and if you notice the first one is on the line that F lives on, so we have F sharp, and the next one's on the C line, so we have C sharp. The next one's on the space just above the top line, that's where G lives, so that's G sharp. And then the last one's on the line where D lives, so we have D sharp. So our sharps, it's 4 of them, it's kind of a mouthful. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. And that means every single time you play an F, C, G, or D, unless it's written otherwise with a natural or a flat sign, they're gonna be sharp. All right, so let's sing our E major scale and arpeggio. E, I'm gonna go an octave lower down because I cannot sing that high. All right, E, ready, go. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, and then back down. D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. And then our arpeggio, E, skip F sharp, G sharp, skip A, B, E, B, G sharp, E. Oh man, the more sharps and flats you add to something, it really becomes quite the brain teaser. So let's play our E major scale and arpeggio again. And remember to keep an eye on those high 3s and an ear, because they probably need to be, likely need to be a little higher than you're expecting. And tap your left thumb a couple times before you start. Make sure you're nice and relaxed, not squeezing too much. Let's play our E major scale. 1, 2, ready, go. Alright guys, thank you for joining me on our E major scale. We're still in quarantine like I mentioned earlier, and as you can see, it is not a cloud in the sky, so I might go sit down by the water for a little bit. Get outside. Whew. I'm kind of struggling a little bit for practice motivation myself right now, so I'll probably be coming out with a thing soon about 5 ways to keep your practicing interesting during quarantine. So check that out if you're also having a hard time keeping your practice up. And most importantly, enjoy your instrument, enjoy playing your instrument. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.